And what organization or agency does Mosaic do the caregiver background check through?
Through the Department of Justice and the Caregiver Registry.
Have you reviewed results of caregiver background checks before?
I have.
Do you generally know what's contained in them?
I do.
What kind of information is in them?
So it would have the Caregiver Registry that would tell us if there were any substantiated findings against a caregiver, and it would have their criminal background history.
Okay. Do the caregiver background checks contain any information about applicants' prior employment?
No.
Have you ever seen anyone's previous employers listed in a caregiver background check?
No.
So between November 2018 and January 2019, who was in charge for hiring at the De Pere Artisan facility?
I'm sorry, I don't know if it's my computer, but you froze, you cut out.
Sorry, my voice might just be going soft after 6 hours here. So who was in charge of hiring for the De Pere Artisan facility between November 2018 and January of 2019?
Tara St. Jean.
Okay. And what was her position?
She was the community director.
Okay. Would Ms. St. Jean have received all employment applications for the facility?
Yes.
Does Mosaic keep hard copies of hired employees' job applications as part of their business records and personnel files?
We do.
Okay. Around November 2018, did Ms. St. Jean recommend hiring Annie Bates as a lead resident assistant?
Yes, she did.
Assistant. Okay. Judge, can we get to Exhibit R1, please? And Krista, have you seen this document before?
I have.
What is it?
It's an application for Annie Bates for employment with Artisan Mosaic.
Okay. And if we could scroll through the pages here kind of slowly. Just on to the next page. And on to the next one. The last one. And is this a complete application?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Did Mosaic keep this document in Ms. Bates' personnel file as part of its normal business records?
Yes.
And if we go back to the first page, it says that Ms. Bates applied for a med tech position. Did that position exist at the Artisan facility when she applied?
It did not.
Has it ever existed at any of Mosaic's facilities?
No, it has not.
Can we go to the second page, please? So on the second page, it says for employees to list their work experience for the past 3 jobs. Why did Mosaic request that of its employees?
So that we could verify employment history and check references?
Okay. Were Ms. Bates' references checked?
Yes, they were.
And how were they checked?
By calling and or faxing each of the employers that she listed.
Okay. Do you expect that applicants will provide accurate and truthful information on these job applications?
Yes.
Does the application say anywhere about what happens if an applicant does not provide accurate or truthful information?
Yes, it does.
And where does it say that?
On the last page.
And can we scroll to that last page, please, Judge? Thank you. And what does it say here?
It's a waiver that informs them or has them sign acknowledgement that if they omit or provide false information, it may potentially lead to disqualification for employment or termination.
Okay. And we don't need to go back to the last page, but the second page of the application says that, or asks for applicants to list their 3 most recent employers. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that's on every application?
It is.
Actually, can we go back to that second page, please, Judge? And so in that sentence or two at the top below where it says application for employment, it doesn't say to list the 3 most recent jobs that Artisan doesn't know about, right? Or that the facility doesn't know about, correct?
Correct.
And you expect people to list their 3 most recent jobs regardless of whether Mosaic or the facility knows about that employment, correct?
Correct.
Are employees free to provide more references if they wish? Did you hear that question?
I did not.
Okay. Are employees free to provide more witnesses if they wish? Can an employee list more previous employers if they wanted to?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
I mean, as long as they provide the 3 most recent, they could provide more than that if they wanted to. We just require that they provide the 3 most recent.
Okay. And so looking at these, what are the 3 most recent or 3 positions that Ms. Bates listed?
The AACO nursing, Atrium post care, and Manitowoc home health.
Okay. And you said you sent out reference checks for those?
Yes.
Judge, can we please go to Exhibit R2? Krista, do you recognize this document?
I do.
Was it kept as part of Ms. Bates' personnel file?
Yes.
And what is it?
It's an employee reference check form
And-
for Annie. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, you can continue.
For Annie Bates' employment with AACO nursing.
And did AACO nursing respond?
They did.
Okay. Judge, can we go to Exhibit R3, please? Do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It's an employee reference check form for Annie Bates sent to Manitowoc Home Health.
Okay. And sorry about that. Was that kept as part of Ms. Bates' personnel file?
Yes.
And did Manitowoc Home Health respond to this request?
They did.
Okay. Judge, can we go to Exhibit R4, please? Do you recognize this document?
I do.
And what is it?
It's an employee reference check for Annie Bates with Atrium post care.
And this was kept as part of her personnel file?
Yes.
Did Atrium Post Care respond?
They did not respond.
Would Mosaic have followed up with them after they did not respond?
We did.
And
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, there's a notation in the upper right-hand corner stating that on 11/21/18, we followed up and left a message asking them to return a phone call
okay, so
or
even
the fax.
sorry. So Mosaic's practice, even when an employer or prior employer does not respond, is to follow up with that employer.
Yes, it is. We make every attempt to get references.
And you said before that you've decided not to hire applicants in the past because they've had negative reference checks, correct?
Yes, correct.
Did Mosaic submit a caregiver background check for Ms. Bates?
Yes.
Judge, can we get Exhibit R5, please? Krista, have you seen this document before?
Yes, I have.
And have you reviewed it before today?
I have.
What is it?
It's the caregiver background check.
Okay. At the top of the first page there, whose name is listed?
Annie Bates.
And so this is her criminal background check, correct?
Correct.
And it was kept as part of Mosaic's business records in her personnel file.
Yes.
And Judge, can we scroll through to, I want to say it's going to be the 8th page of this document. The next state of Wisconsin letterhead. And you recognize this as well?
I do.
And this also says Annie M. Bates at the top of it.
Yes, it does.
Okay. And anywhere in these two documents, does it list Ms. Bates' previous employers? Anywhere in these two documents.
Can you please repeat?
Yeah, sorry. Anywhere in these two documents, does it list Ms. Bates' prior employers?
It does not.
And this is consistent with all other caregiver background check results that you've seen, correct?
Correct.
So as part of the onboarding for newly hired employees, does Mosaic require that supervisors go over job descriptions with those new employees?
Yeah. Yes.
Does Mosaic require that employees sign off on job descriptions?
Yes.
Is this to acknowledge those job descriptions terms?
Yes.
What would happen if an employee did not sign off or agree to those terms?
They could not be employed.
Judge, can we go to Exhibit R7 once more? And I've shown you this document before, and the judge and I have seen this lots today. But you've seen it before, correct?
I have, yes.
And what is it?
It's the lead resident assistant job description.
And this was the copy that was kept in her Ms. Bates' personnel file, correct?
Correct.
And if we go to the 4th page of this document, Judge, or 3rd page, sorry. And it appears that she signed off on its contents.
Yes.
And acknowledged it, correct?
Yes.
And to confirm what we went over before, this lead resident assistant job description that Ms. Bates signed off on does not include passing medications as a required job duty, right?
Right.
And it also does not include supervising other employees as a job duty.
Correct.
Okay. So we've heard from other witnesses today that they were contacted by a previous employer of Ms. Bates in late December 2018 or early of January of 2019. Were you made aware of this?
I was.
Who informed you of this?
Tara St. Jean.
And when did she inform you?
I assume so shortly after she became aware.
Okay. Was it your understanding after that call with her that Ms. Bates had recently worked for Arcadia?
Yes.
Did you know that Ms. Bates worked for Arcadia prior to the contact in late December 2018 or early January 2019?
No, I did not.
Would you have met Ms. Bates in person at any point while she was working for Artisan?
No.
What about while she was working for Arcadia?
No.
Would you have any other reason to know that Ms. Bates worked for Arcadia before she worked for Artisan?
No, I would not.
Okay. Can we go back to Exhibit R1, please, Judge? Okay. Could you please go to the next page? Thank you. So going back to the three most recent employers on Ms. Bates' job application, did she list Arcadia?
She did not.
And Mosaic contacted each of these employers that was listed on her job application, correct?
Yes, we did.
And because Ms. Bates did not list Arcadia on the job application, Mosaic could not contact them, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Was it your understanding in this situation that Ms. Bates did not leave Arcadia on good terms?
Yes, that was my understanding.
So if Ms. Bates had listed Arcadia on her job applications, would you have contacted them as an employment reference?
Yes, absolutely.
And you said previously that you haven't hired applicants because of poor references. So if Arcadia returned a poor reference, is it possible that Ms. Bates would not have been hired?
Yes.
Just take a sip of water here. So when an employee at a Mosaic facility was terminated, were you generally involved in that decision? Sorry. When an employee at a Mosaic facility was terminated, were you generally involved in that decision?
Yes.
And this was at all of Mosaic's facilities, correct?
Correct.
We're obviously here because Ms. Bates' employment was terminated. Were you involved in the decision to terminate her employment?
Yes, I was.
Was anyone else involved in the decision to terminate Ms. Bates' employment?
Yes. Tara St. Jean and Ashley Martell.
Why did you decide to terminate Ms. Bates' employment?
Because she falsified her application, and it was I believe that she left that employer out, knowing that it would lead to a poor reference and potentially we wouldn't have hired her.
Okay. Judge, could you scroll to the last page of R1? So I think it's going to be 2 pages. So in this application form waiver paragraph, it says that I understand that any incorrect, incomplete, or false statements or information furnished by me may, at the discretion of Mosaic Management Group, LLC, disqualify me from employment or cause my dismissal. Is that correct?
Yes.
I didn't hear you. Can you repeat that?
Sorry.
That is
Not you. I
correct.
heard you. I didn't hear her.
Okay.
Oh, yes, that is correct.
Okay. And the application instructed Ms. Bates to list her 3 most recent employers.
Yes.
So by not including Arcadia as a recent employer, Ms. Bates did not complete her application truthfully, correct?
That is correct.
So apart from this signed agreement, why do you think that falsifying the job applications was grounds for termination?
Can you rephrase that question?
Yep, sorry. So Ms. Bates signed this last page of the job application saying that if she submitted this false application, she understood that she could be terminated. So apart from signing that, saying that she knew that by providing false information, Mosaic could terminate her employment, why else do you think that providing false information was grounds for termination?
Well, first of all, I guess a falsified application, and in this situation, omitting information that did not allow us the opportunity to properly process her application and complete our reference checks forms is what led to the decision for the termination, if I'm understanding your question. As well as there's a number of other reasons why we would expect an employee or prospective employee to be honest and always provide truthful information.
And what are those reasons, those other reasons that you expect employees to provide honest and truthful information?
Well, because as was stated by others, but that we care for a very vulnerable population of people. And it's important that we have employees that are honest and have integrity in their work. Because if they do not, then that could potentially put our residents at risk. And that's certainly not something we want.
Do you believe that, or did you believe at the time that Ms. Bates may have falsified her application to avoid the negative terms of her employment with Arcadia?
Yes.
So who is the individual that actually terminated Ms. Bates' employment? Who informed her that she was terminated?
Tara St. Jean.
Okay. Was Ms. Bates given any kind of written notice of her termination?
I believe so. I don't know.
Can we go to Exhibit R8, please, Judge? R8. Okay. Do you recognize this document or the form of this document? Sorry, do you recognize this document?
I do recognize that document, yes.
Would it have been kept in Ms. Bates' personnel file?
Yes.
And if we scroll down to the second page, we can see that it's dated January 3rd and January 4th of 2019 by Tara St. Jean and Ashley Martell, respectively. Can you scroll back up, please, Judge? So seeing those in the context of, we see January 3rd, 2018 listed on here. Do you think that's just a Scrivener's error?
Can you repeat the question? It cut out for me.
Sorry. So seeing that Tara and Ashley signed the document on January 3rd and 4th of 2019, it says January 3rd, 2018 on here. Is that just a Scrivener's error?
Yes, I would assume.
Okay. I'm sure that we've all given the wrong year for the first week or 3 months of any year.
Yeah.
And then listed down here at the very bottom of the page as it's up, what are the reasons given for her termination?
That she violated the application form waiver on her application for employment. She did not divulge that she worked for Arcadia Agency.
Okay. And would Ms. Bates have been provided a copy of this document?
It states that she was.
Okay. Can you recall any other situations where employees have submitted false employment applications that you become aware of or believe the applications were false?
Yes, I had another situation not so long ago.
And what happened in that situation?
The employee was not hired, or the prospective employee, I should say, was not hired, the applicant.
How did you become aware that their information that they provided was false?
During my reference checks, I contacted someone that she provided as a reference, and in talking to this potential reference, I was suspicious of the information that was being provided, and so I called the applicant back to get some clarification and realized that I was not talking specifically to the company, so I kind of did more digging or investigation, and I called the the prior employer directly to verify her reference and got information that was completely contrary to what she had provided to me. And then I checked another reference that she provided that also was not accurate, and so she was disqualified as a candidate.
Okay. And so this applicant provided false information on their application just to verify?
Correct.
And she was not considered from the position after that?
Yes, that is correct. She was not considered.
So if someone else had or were in the future to submit a false employment application, would you also terminate their employment?
Yes.
Okay. And going back to, I'm sorry, the individual you just talked about who submitted the false employment application, who consideration was not given to, What was the race of that applicant?
She was white.
Can you recall any situations where Mosaic has disciplined other employees for being dishonest?
Yes.
Can you recall any specific instances of this?
Yes. Dishonesty falls under our rules of conduct as unprofessional, unbusiness-like behavior. And I had another employee, rather recent, that provided false information to her supervisor, reported allegations of misconduct by her coworkers, and those allegations were investigated. And during the course of that investigation, they were found to be false in nature or exaggerated, provided and misleading. And as a result of that, that employee was counseled.
Okay,
And
and was that
final
employee,
written warning.
and that employee received discipline?
Again, can you repeat?
Sorry. Did that employee receive any discipline?
Yes, that employee received a final written warning.
And so why did they receive a warning as opposed to being terminated?
Because that employee made allegations of misconduct, and we have a policy that employees have a responsibility to report any potential caregiver misconduct by others. And she followed that policy. It was the content of her allegations that were false and misleading that she was counseled for. So that's why she received a final written warning for that.
So she submitted an allegation of caregiver misconduct? Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, so she made allegations of misconduct by her coworkers, by other caregivers, and we investigated those allegations of caregiver misconduct. And we have a policy that requires employees to report, responsibility to report any potential caregiver misconduct.
So the employee believed there to be misconduct by other employees, but did not fully tell or did not accurately state the facts. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you have a policy of requiring that misconduct by caregivers be reported?
Yes.
Is there any state requirement that caregiver misconduct be reported?
Yes.
So would it be fair to say that you did not terminate that employee because you didn't want to deter employees from submitting these required complaints?
Yes, absolutely. We don't want, employees have to feel that they can bring forward allegations of misconduct without retaliation for bringing that complaint, that allegation forward. So we wouldn't want to discourage others from doing that, but this employee was counseled on a final written warning for the false allegations that she provided.
Okay, and what was that employee's race?
She was white.
And did that employee falsify any care documents, or was it just the complaint form?
Just the complaint form.
Okay. So based on your 30 years of experience working in residential care, do you believe that honesty is an important quality for a Mosaic or Artisan employee?
I do.
And why is that?
Well, as I had stated before, because of the nature of the people that we care for, it's important that we have employees that are honest, but more than that, or beyond that, is that we have a responsibility to maintain a lot of documentation in written form of that. It makes a record of the care and services that we provide to our residents, and we have to have confidence that staff that we employ will honestly and accurately complete that documentation for our records.
So based on this and your experience, do you think that dishonesty, especially in these written records, is a character trait that's consistent with employment in your industry?
No.
I'm done with my questions for now, Your Honor.
Ms. Bates, do you have any questions for her? Any questions, Ms. Bates?
No.
All right. I don't think I have any questions either. So Attorney Woodson, do you have, I'm assuming no other witnesses? This was the last witness you were going to call?
I have no other witnesses, Your Honor.
And during the testimony of all the witnesses, including Ms. Bates, I noticed that there was reference to all of the exhibits you submitted except for exhibits 9 and 11. So are you moving the admission of all other exhibits?
Correct. I would move for admission of all but 9 and 11.
Ms. Bates, do you have any objections to my receiving respondents exhibit 1, which was your application for employment?
No.
All right, so that's received. What about exhibit 2, the reference check for AACO nursing? Any objections to my receiving that document, Ms. Bates?
No.
Okay, so that's received. What about the reference check for Manitowoc Home Health? That's exhibit 3. Any objections, Ms. Bates?
No.
So that's received. Exhibit 4 was the reference check for Atrium Post Care. Any objections, Ms. Bates, to that exhibit?
No.
Right, so that one's received. Exhibit 5 was the caregiver background check for yourself. Any objections, Ms. Bates, to my receiving exhibit 5?
No.
Okay, so that's received. Exhibit 6 was a hire information form. Any objections to my receiving that exhibit, Ms. Bates?
No.
All right, so that one is received. Exhibit 7 was the job description. Any objections to my receiving that document, Ms. Bates?
No.
All right, so that's received. Exhibit 8 was the discharge notice. Any objections to that document, Ms. Bates?
No.
All right, so that's received. And then Exhibit 10 was your discrimination complaint form. Any objections to that?
No.
All right, so that is received then. At this point, Ms. Bates, do you have any evidence that you'd want to present as rebuttal evidence? It's not things we've already gone over, but anything that you want to testify about based on the testimony you heard from the respondents' 3 witnesses.
Any rebuttal?
Right, so if there's any evidence you want to offer at this point based on what Ms. St. Jean, Ms. Martell, and Ms. McCook testified to, now's your time to do that.
Well, I know with the last witness, she was just a cook when I was around, and never really seen her or did much with her. So I'm pretty sure she didn't have any say-so in my getting hired or getting fired there, but she just testified that today, which is not true.
Anything else, Ms. Bates?
No.
All right. Yes, is there any other evidence from either party at this point? Otherwise, I will close the record.
I have no other evidence, Judge.
Anything else?
All right, then, like I said, I will go ahead and close the record. I don't require post-hearing briefs, but does either party want to submit a post-hearing brief where they point out the evidence that was received and explain why I should find in their favor? Again, I'm not requiring it, but I just want to ask if anybody wants to do that.
Could I have 2 weeks to do so, Judge?
2 weeks to submit a post-hearing brief?
Yes, it should be pretty short.
All right. Sure. So if we're looking at 2 weeks from today, that would be May 24th, I believe.
Yes.
Ms. Bates, do you want to submit a brief as well?
Sure.
Is May 24th give you enough time, or do you need some additional time to do that?
Additional time if we can go the first week of June.
So we would be looking at what, maybe like June 4th? That's that Friday of that first week?
Can we do like June 6th or 7th?
I can do June 7th. That would be the Monday.
That'll be good.
All right, so then I'll have the post-hearing briefs due for both parties on June 7th. You can email those to me if that's the easiest way of getting those to me. And then once I receive the post-hearing briefs, that starts the time that I have to issue my decision in the case. And my decision usually comes out, we're supposed to get it out about within 90 days of the record closing. So we'd be looking at sometime this summer then for me to get my decision out. So if anybody's contact information changes at that time, let me know, so that way we can make sure that everybody gets my decision in a timely manner. Anything else? Any questions or anything? Ms. Bates, do you have anything else or any questions?
Nope, nothing at all.
All right, Attorney Woodson, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right, well then, thank you everybody for joining and participating in the hearing today. And like I said, I will go ahead and shut off the recording and conclude the hearing for today. So thank you very much for calling, or connecting, I should say,